All right, let's jump right in. Today we're digging into some of the most powerful ideas from Wallace D. Wattles' classic, The Science of Getting Rich. Now, this book sometimes gets a mystical reputation, but we're going to strip all that away and get right to the practical, ethical heart of what he was talking about. We'll see how this century-old wisdom can totally reframe the way we think about ambition today. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt that little pang of guilt for wanting more? You know, you have ambitions, you want to achieve things, but part of you feels like maybe you shouldn't? Or maybe you just feel stuck, like being a good person and wanting to be wealthy are somehow mutually exclusive. This is a huge sticking point for so many of us, and it's exactly what Wattles' work helps us untangle.
So here's our game plan. We're going to connect 5 big ideas. First, we'll look at why wanting more is actually a good and natural thing. Then, we'll get into the how, the creative method for making it happen. We'll see how it's all built on an ethical foundation of fair dealing, look at how to put it into action, and then wrap up with a simple reset you can use anytime.
Okay, let's tackle that feeling of guilt head on. According to Wattles, that desire for more isn't some character flaw. Far from it. He argues it's one of the most fundamental impulses of life itself.
He has this concept he calls increasing life, and the idea is really simple but profound. Every living thing in the universe is wired to expand, to grow, and to express itself more fully. It's not about greed, it's about growth.
So that desire for more knowledge, for new experiences, for more beauty in your life, or, for the money to make those things happen, that's totally natural. It's the exact same impulse that makes a plant reach for sunlight. It's just the desire for a richer, fuller life.
This really gets to the heart of his philosophy. The universe is built for advancement. Life doesn't just aim to survive. Its very nature is to multiply and increase. So in this way of thinking, scarcity isn't the default setting of the world at all.
Okay, so if wanting more is natural, what's the actual mechanism for getting there? Well, Wattles is really clear that it has nothing to do with your location, your background, or some special talent. It's all about adopting a specific mindset and acting in what he calls the certain way.
And this focus on a process is absolutely key. He treats this certain way like a science, a reliable, repeatable system that anyone can learn. He basically argues that the only real difference between people who prosper and people who don't is whether or not they follow this specific method.
Now, at the heart of this method is a massive mental shift. On one side, you've got the competitive mind. This is the mindset that sees a limited pie. For me to win, you have to lose. It's a zero-sum game. But then there's the creative mind, and this is a total game changer. The creative mind operates from a place of infinite possibility. It doesn't need to take from anyone because it's focused on creating new value, on making the whole pie bigger for everybody.
And this creative mindset leads directly to a powerful ethical framework. This is the part that completely dissolves that guilt we talked about at the start, and honestly, it's the non-negotiable foundation of this entire system.
So here's the rule, and it's simple, but it changes everything. In every single transaction, you must give the other person more in use value than you receive from them in cash value. So whatever benefit they get from your product or your service, it has to be worth more to their life than the money they paid for it.
Now, when you follow this rule, think about it. Every business deal becomes a net positive for the world. You're not just making money, you are genuinely contributing to the advancement of someone else's life. Business becomes a vehicle for growth, not for taking.
And Wattles is so firm on this, there's absolutely no room for exploitation. If your business model relies on getting one over on somebody, you're on the competitive plane. You're out of sync with this principle of increase, and he basically says that's not just wrong, it's unsustainable.
So how do we take all this great theory and translate it into our actual day-to-day lives? What does it look like to live this creative method in practice?
Well, it really comes down to how you show up in 3 areas. First, at work. The idea is to not just do your job, but to more than fill your present role. Become a source of value that helps your team and your projects get better. Second, in all your interactions. Consciously try to convey a feeling of growth. People should feel more capable and optimistic after they talk to you. And finally, all this starts to shape your habits. You begin to build an identity as a creator, and every action you take is like a vote for that version of yourself.
And this fits perfectly with what we now know about building habits, right? You stop focusing just on the goal and start focusing on the identity of the person who achieves it. When you see yourself as a creator, your habits naturally start to line up with that identity, because that's just who you are.
Okay, To bring this all home, let's finish with a super simple, practical exercise you can do anytime to get yourself back into this creative mindset. It just has 2 parts. First, contemplate. Just take a moment and hold a clear mental image of the increase you want. Not just for you, but for the value it will bring to other people. Second, appreciate. Connect with a real feeling of gratitude for everything you already have. Wattles says that gratitude is what keeps you connected to that source of abundance and keeps your purpose strong.
Because that's the ultimate goal here. It's about shifting your entire perspective from being a consumer or a competitor to being a creative center, a source from which advancement and value flow out into the world. So let's just recap the big takeaways. That desire for more is really just the desire for more life itself. The key method is to shift from that competitive, limited pie mindset to a creative one. And the ethical spine of it all is to always give more in use value than you take in cash value. Next time, we're going to cover the crucial next steps for putting this certain way into consistent action. You can find the entire series in our playlist. Thanks for joining me.